Well, gluten is a problem for some people, but it doesn't have to be anymore thanks to a new cookbook by Beth Hilson. It's called Gluten-Free Makeovers, and as Beth will tell you, it was born out of necessity. Beth Hilson is here now to tell us all about it. So gluten-free means exactly?
Well, gluten-free means that no wheat, rye, or barley.
Okay.
And it's the protein in those flours that causes the problem for people who are celiac or gluten intolerant. It can be other things if it's an allergy, but that's primarily what we're removing. And so, of course, that's the wonderful elasticity that all the dough has. So
I mean, we're talking pizza dough,
yeah,
we're talking pasta.
right. And bread,
breads.
sourdough bread. Oh, I would give my eye tooth for a sourdough bread that really had a crunch. So those kinds of things are what we're replicating. And I've been celiac since, well, gosh, for 36 years.
Okay.
So when I was diagnosed, my doctor just handed me a sheet and said, here, you know, just
Stay away
eliminate
from this,
gluten.
But it's hard to do. You're missing out on life almost if you can't have bread.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So I went to culinary school. And when I went to culinary school, I was really trying to learn about the foods. But what I discovered was that I held the secrets when I held those recipes. There's a recipe DNA for every recipe. And it's the ratio of fat to dry to liquids to flour. And if you maintain that ratio, you are going to have a terrific outcome no matter what you make. As long as you,
here, Beth. Okay.
Exactly. But you have to replace the gluten-filled ingredients. So I started doing that. The crepes was one of the first things I ever made, gluten-free. But in replacing the gluten, because wheat is so elastic and so complex in what it does in baking, we have to do a number of different things. We have to use blends. And so my book is full of different blends and techniques, because if you're doing a yeast bread, you want more elasticity.
Okay.
If you're doing a short cookie, a short crust of some sort, it's going to crumble, and you want it to crumble, so you don't want that elasticity. So we're kind of keeping those things in mind as we're developing the recipes.
Because typically crepes would be filled with gluten and flour, right?
And this is what I love about this recipe, because look at this. I mean, there's no gluten in here, and it's holding together.
Wow.
And that was the thing that impressed me the first time I made these.
And does it taste similar?
Oh, everybody loves it. I never
really?
tell people I'm making gluten-free things for them. I just serve one recipe for everybody. That's the nice thing about the cookbook, too. Any recipe in there can be served to everybody, and I don't think anybody is going to say, oh, what's different about this?
Something. Good.
Yeah, so,
all right, well, let's get going. How do we make these?
So we're starting with, I'm doing a very simple blend for this, and this is rice flour, tapioca starch, a little bit of xanthan gum, and I use xanthan gum or guar gum because that replaces some of the elasticity. So everything that we're doing is to try to get some more elasticity into our foods.
Okay.
So I'm putting those together, and this is a little bit of sugar because we're doing these as dessert crepes. If you were doing them as a lunch, a savory item, you wouldn't have to put that in. And what we're going to do is add those to the eggs, and I'm going to beat those and then add the flour to it. And this will coat the flour. So again, we're adding a protein to it if we understand a little bit about food chemistry. And we don't need to, actually. But this is really gorgeous. When it comes together, you can see how beautifully that's... Whoops, sorry, I'm making a mess here.
That's okay.
But, you know, hey, yeah. So, you can have a food fight afterwards. So this is coating. We're mixing that, and then the milk, excuse me. I'm going to add a little of that, and I'm going to make it just soften it a little bit, and then we're going to add the rest of it, so that what we're going to have, and I'm not going to take a lot of time to do this right now, so I'm going to pull the Julia Childs number, and I'm going to go...
Oh, you have one done already.
Voila,
what do you know, Beth?
Exactly, and this has to sit overnight. So I've let this sit. It really softens the flour as well. And these are the techniques the French discovered for making crepes, and they work for gluten-free crepes as well as for gluten-filled. Okay. Now, I'm using a pan I've never used before, so I have to confess.
We'll see how it goes.
We'll see. Yeah, that looks like it might be a little hot, but let's try it. And I'm going to add about 1/3 of a cup of the batter, and the trick is that you want to coat it with just a tiny thin layer of batter. And then if you have any leftover, you can just spill it right back into the bowl and then use it next time. So
this is going to be quick, I have a feeling, right?
Oh, it's very quick. It's already starting to brown around the edges. You can see that.
And did you spray the pan?
I did. I coated it with a little bit of oil. I just dipped my paper towel into it, just wiped it around.
Okay.
This is really pretty nice, actually. I think it's going to work.
Thank you, Beth.
Yes. We're winging it, but it's going to work. Okay, so now we want this to just brown on the edges. If it starts to bubble in the center before we can layer it, then we know the pan's too hot.
Okay, that's a good tip.
Yeah, that's a really important tip that the French kind of know these things, but you know, we're learning. And so, okay, this is going to start to brown.
All right, now, we have actually about a minute left.
Oh my goodness, all right, so we're not going to do
here.
that. Yes, we're going to not flip this one. Okay, and we have it over here.
And we are filling these with peach Melba, right?
We are, and peach Melba is actually raspberry, a little brandy, and some peaches.
Okay.
So we're going to just... You shouldn't have told me that we had all the time in the world here.
Well, I'm glad. We learned all about gluten-free.
We did. There we go. Okay, and then I'm putting some chopped peaches in here.
Okay.
This could not be simpler.
I feel like this is a healthy dessert, right?
It's kind of healthy, you know, it really is.
Go.
Yes, right, exactly. And I'm going to roll these up, put a little bit of powdered sugar on
it's
top.
Beautiful.
And then I could put a dollop of whipped cream on there. I'm going to garnish it with a couple of peach slices.
It's lovely.
And there we go.
And it's gluten-free.
And it's gluten-free. And I would serve this to anybody, everybody.
Oh,
and everyone will enjoy it. Your gluten-free guests won't feel like they've been left out in any way. And why make two dishes when you can make
Just
one?
make one.
Yes.
Very good. All right,
and
Beth.
you can check out more recipes of mine on glutenfreemakeovers.com.
Very good. We're going to try this in just a little bit.
Great.
Of course, we'll have the recipe on WTNH.com. Just click on Connecticut Style. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.